Let's get into the purchase. We are adding a new company to the portfolio. Let's kick it off.
Yeah, the company I'd like to add today is GitLab. I think we'll follow a $15,000 purchase. In terms of some of the leaders in companies at the forefront of software trends, that will give us Cloudflare and security and inferencing. It will also give us Snowflake, and we'll have GitLab beyond also other software opportunities like Synopsys and Cadence. So we are starting to build out kind of the software side in addition to many of the data center plays we had. Now, the storyline here is, David, I'm sure you've seen it. There's a chart making the rounds on social media right now that shows developer job openings from 2022 to today, and it's absolutely fallen off a cliff, right? And the reason many will attribute to this, there's several reasons, but right now there are coding tools utilizing AI that make people phenomenally more efficient, do some stuff that is honestly kind of shocking. David, we met in Las Vegas, as we had talked about earlier, and talking with the developers on our team, their embrace of AI has completely changed the way that they do their jobs. Not only that, but another one of our coworkers, he was showing me yesterday that what he calls vibe coding, if you get in too much, you'll see a lot of people talk about this vibe coding now, where you're working more with ideas than the code itself. He had taken some that we might previously had to pay someone on Upwork, maybe six figures, maybe $100,000 to build some concepts. And he had just done it all in his spare time with a week, knowing almost no, having almost no ability to code. Let's just call it is what it is. So the preeminent product that's getting most of the attention in Silicon Valley is something called Cursor. It's a code editor that set the new record, as the PR would go, and going from 1 million to 100 million annual run rate in 12 months. I've seen people say that when they're talking with classes in Stanford computer sciences, if they ask how many are using Cursor, it's 100% people.
Wow.
If you look at Y Combinator, one of the best incubators for new startups, 100% usage on Cursor right now. So if you're at the bleeding edge right now, the adoption for Cursor is maybe at the highest levels of any tech product ever. So, being able to code with AI, it's a big deal. And these reasoning models, where they perform best is areas like coding, because that chain of thought gives them objective, true or not true statements. And it's really going to turn coding into a superpower extremely fast via AI. So I think the growth rate in these areas is going to be absolutely incredible, growth rate and capabilities. So there's a space named DevOps, and that's for code management. It's a great first place to look in terms of where you could see, some gains from this trend. There's a company named GitHub. It's very strong, but it's owned by Microsoft. And, Microsoft's very big. It's just a small piece of its business.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at their top competitor, which is GitLab. They have a lineup named Duo. It's not just coding assistants, but it's agents that monitor across the entire workflow of all company code. It can not only, function areas like security, but also code optimization. So Cursor, it's going to be used heavily by startups, first movers. But if you're in a heavily regulated space and you're looking for a lot of these efficiencies, a company like GitLab is exactly where you're going to look. And they have a ton of differentiation here. So you think about Bank of America, GitLab actually specializes in being self-hosted. So you don't need to go to an LLM out, in the cloud or untrusted spaces. You can actually keep things local and use GitLab. So again, you think about all the industries. You could think about healthcare, finance, energy, national security. This is exactly the kind of product they're looking for. And when it comes to actually having relationships in the cloud, well, I mentioned their main competitor, GitHub, owned by Microsoft. Well, that presents an opportunity because it means GitLab can partner in more strongly with Amazon and Google. So David, this is a company that's been growing among the higher growth rates in the SaaS space. It was 31% last quarter. It's expected to decelerate to 25% this next year. If there's a big push, to look for solutions in, being able to find agentic coding assistants across your code base, they're going to be the first company that a lot of people look to. If they bump up that rate from 25 expected back to 30, it's very likely going to be a winning investment. They're trading at 12 times their expected sales this year. That's high, but it's also not outside a band of SaaS companies that one with one of the best opportunities is a problem. So, there's some risk here, David. It is a little more expensive. It does have good competition. But in terms of getting a company that's aligned with what I see as one of the most exciting trends and something that gets a big push from the recent breakthroughs and reasoning that maybe the market hasn't internalized, I really like this play. And I think there's a good chance that we look back in a year or two and GitLab's one of the stronger portfolio companies, right?
Yeah, when you talk about Microsoft and GitHub, you have a little bit of PTSD from hearing Microsoft as a competitor if you were a Zoom shareholder and
Oh, yeah.
teams, or just the ability for Microsoft to come in and just kind of dominate a competitor. So is that the biggest, outside of valuation, is that the biggest risk, is that they just get squeezed on pricing, or what is that what I should be most worried about if I'm thinking about this company?
I think so. If I needed to say what was the single biggest risk that concerns me, when I look at their customer acquisition, it's been a little weaker in recent quarters. And if you want to, you're fundamentally in SaaS doing land and expand. And if you're not landing, you can't get people on these tools that we think could be the growth sweetener for the company.
Mhm.
So yeah, maybe it would be that they're just going to have a hard time landing in this competition with Microsoft, which doesn't allow kind of this product suite to give that incremental growth we think makes this a winning investment.
Okay, so that was GitLab. You said 15,000 we're adding
Mm-hmm.
portfolio there.